大家好，这是BeiMeiLiuMang，今天是2021年5月20号，今天是一个星期四。那现在还没有收盘，现在是东部时间3点43啊，还有17分钟才收盘。那这边来看看这个 CNBC 这个现在在电视上播什么？那不过现在在 commercial break， 在这放广告。那就是来看看吧，反正这几天挺疯狂的，说实话。看一下政治方面，那边以色列打得很凶啊，打得很凶。以色列这个国家挺狠，大家看出来了吗？挺狠。这国家也不大啊，弹丸之地非常的小，但这个国家人口也非常的少，800万左右。这么小一个国家，这么一点人，周围国家都打不过他，谁敢动他？谁动一下试试？你杀一个以色列人，你看看发生什么？那我昨天也在看，就是最近以色列总理出来发的这个新闻发布会，就是说这个战况的情况啊。他说哇，你知道实际上巴勒斯坦曾经想给以色列打什么大地道战啊？那个加沙地带下面哗建的都是地道，直接穿过以色列啊，再连接那个巴勒斯坦其他的地方。因为加沙它像一个孤岛一样被以色列包住，然后其他的巴勒斯坦在另一边，对吧？它在挖地下管道、地道战，然后什么武器啊、军队啊。卫星啊，什么乱七八糟仪器、军事仪器都藏在地下。然后前几年不是被以色列发现了吗？然后就把那个给填上了，对吧？那个洞给填上了。然后为了防止他们再挖，以色列又把他们和这个加沙的这个边境建了个很厚的水泥墙，地下水泥墙，让人家这个巴勒斯坦就挖不动啊，挖不过去了，很猛啊！这个战争也是很残酷的，大家也看到了啊，这是无辜的人在死啊。现在以色列就说巴勒斯坦。这个哈马斯他们是拿人民做肉盾啊，拿他们的这个居民做肉盾，什么这个火箭发射塔什么，还有武器弹药库都藏在人家家里面，因为知道以色列他不能说是乱杀无辜，对吧？以色列这个国家都是精准打击，他干你他就干你，他不会去乱杀，最起码保存这一个形象啊，在国际上的形象，所以他们就利用这个巴勒斯坦就把人藏在家里。好吧，不说了，这边开始。
15 minutes to go in the trading day. We are now in the closing bell market zone. Commercial-free coverage of all the action going into the close. CNBC senior markets commentator Mike Santoli here to break down these crucial moments of the trading day. And today we've got Hightower chief investment strategist Stephanie Link back on a Thursday as well. We'll kick it off with the broader market. Stocks are rebounding today. Major averages are in the green for the first time in 4 sessions. The Dow is off the highs, but it is up 251 points. The NASDAQ is actually the leader today, up almost 2%. Steph, you have a day like today where tech leaves, yields are lower, and you forget that there's been this massive freak out over inflation worries. Which is it?
Oh my goodness, I know there's so much going on, and there's a lot just in general, just churn in the broader markets. But it is interesting to your point, it's the second straight day that growth has outperformed value. It still has a long way to go, Sarah. You know the XLG is the growth index, Russell 1000 growth index, and that's only up about 4.7% on the year. The XLV, the value index, is up 16%. I still think that value has a shot at continuing only because of the valuation gap. Historically, growth has traded at a 5.6 multiple point premium to value. Today, that number is 10 times premium. So, and earnings for value are going to be better than growth, about 10% better. So to your point, tons to debate. Is the Fed behind the curve? Is it peak growth? Is it inflation? Is it transitory or not? The economy is recovering. We're seeing reopenings coming at much faster than expected. High frequency data is accelerating, especially on the labor market. So lots to consider, lots to ponder. I think this rotation is absolutely going to continue.
再说这两天也是这个咱这个成长股又涨起来了，这两天又把这个经济重击股又不行了，但他觉得还是这些价值股还会继续啊，就是继续涨得比科技股好。
Stocks that haven't yet played catch up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about a reversal of the rotation, but I think maybe it's just a little bit less one or the other every single day. I mean, and really the key thing to me in terms of what's going on in terms of NASDAQ leading today and some of the beaten up growth stuff is that people had sort of sold out of them in a pretty comprehensive way. If you looked at all the hedge fund positioning numbers, you look at the Merrill Lynch fund manager survey about the lowest allocations toward tech in many years, I think that people had just sort of turned their back. And so now now the rebalance move is to rebuild a little bit of exposure to growth. And we saw, again, things like this back in February. February and March too, where these swap back and forth. Banks run too much relative to tech, and they close the gap a little bit. So I don't know that it has to be a real inflection point for the overall relationship as much as it is. It's not all about, one or the other every single day, and it's a little more of a balanced market.
Ford officially unveiling its
挺正常的，就是不能说天天光科技股光在这大盘下面跑，科技股有时候也得领涨一下，像今天。
box earlier today talking about
这是福特的这个新电车。
EVs.
We have 3 electric vehicles that Ford's going to be out in the next, 10 months. We have the Mach-E already sold out for several months. And we have 70% of the customers new. We have the new E-Transit coming at the end of the year. America and the globe's most popular van. And then we have the Lightning coming next spring. So in the next 10 months, we're going to have these 3 high-volume vehicles.
Meanwhile, shares of Lordstown Motors sinking today after Wolf Research downgraded it to underperform with a $1 price target. The firm saying the electric F-150
$1 price target
will be competitive.
这是一个电车的一个公司，美国的，这个叫 Lordstown。
50, still a long way to go to its price target, nonetheless down 16% today. Steph, do you think we really are now in the era of genuine, widespread, deep competition for the likes of Tesla?
Sure seems like it, Will, right? I mean, look, it's an $803 billion total addressable market by 2027. Who wouldn't want to get in? And by the way, the industry really only has about a 2% market share, so there's so much more room to go. So I think the news today on Ford was great. It was exciting, and all the product reviews are really impressive. I think that actually surprised analysts, quite frankly, myself included, in terms of style and speed and fun and being useful. And it's kind of like an image changer for Ford. And we know what GM is doing. They're actually ahead of Ford. Ford had to do this, but I think it makes sense just given the growth potential in the marketplace. And this is one of the reasons why I've always kind of wondered about Tesla, especially at the valuation levels. I get it. I get the growth, but I just don't understand given all this competition that's ahead of it.
说特斯拉未来竞争猛如虎，各种公司都要出电车，你怎么办？丰田也要出电车，纯电车。是吧？奥迪也能出电车，奔驰也能出电车。F150皮卡咱也出电车。
That Lordstown was going to bring about with this electric truck. So you've got this battle between sort of the new entrants, which were so hot and all the rage on Wall Street, and now the big guys catching up.
And specifically the price point Ford's able to come in at with the new electric F-150. I mean, the idea, or the Lightning, the idea that they can leverage their mass scale under 40,000 to start, and basically leaving kind of a boutique producer unable to really match it very well. And of course, never mind the brand and the marketing and all the rest of the things that Ford can do. I mean, Ford is essentially trying to do what every kind of legacy company is trying to do, which is pull a Disney. You sort of, everyone knows where the world is going, and you just need to have a killer offering in the new space. That was video streaming, and this, of course, is EVs, that allows the investors and the customers to look past the fact that the old business is going to potentially fade over time and there's no growth there. So if you figured out the future, the market's going to give you some credit for it. Oh, and Ford's 50 billion market cap, and Tesla's 550 billion.
但是福特现在跟迪士尼一样，是怕你把这些老牌公司忘了。迪士尼说：“我也要出这个网络电视，我也要新颖一下。”福特也说：“我也要出电车，我也要出个电力皮卡，我要让你们知道我们的这个市值太低了。”你看一下特斯拉。The
reason is you've had so many delays in December and then February, but Virgin Galactic has confirmed its upcoming rocket-powered spaceflight test this Saturday. The news comes after a successful maintenance review of its carrier aircraft. Trading volume, I want to focus on that, does remain high today, but the share price overall is still roughly 70% off its 2021 highs. The stock was hit hard as of late over concerns Virgin Galactic would delay the test and, of course, increase competition from Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin. Saturday's test will fly with just 2 pilots. Fingers crossed for good weather on Saturday. Back to you.
Christina, thank you. Mike, what do you make of the action in Virgin Galactic? I guess a relief to shareholders who are worried about that delay. It looks like it's going to happen, and they have a date.
A relief, short squeeze, no doubt. It became a heavily shorted stock. The stock is down an absolute ton. And it's a story that you can latch on to because you have signposts to look for in terms of finally getting commercial flight. I think it's a good reminder, though. If you go back a couple of years, they did this whole SPAC and everything. They were thinking they were going to be way up and running by this year. And there was going to be $200 million of revenue or something this year. So wait and see to see exactly when people are going into space on Virgin Galactic.
Some significant insider selling as well, of course, which affected those names. Do you think we're starting, though, Mike, to see the sort of SPAC pullback bottom more broadly, or are there not definitive signs of that yet?
Well, I do think you've seen like the real deep part of that comeuppance is probably done. And you've had a real drying up of new supply to some degree. The SEC had a chilling effect a little bit on some of the guidance. So I do think it's probably going to be more of a selective market. And, we actually have seen enough SPAC deals happen where it seems like a fairly rational merger and it's not all pure story. So I do think it'll probably be a viable way of going down the road. It's just not going to be kind of buy every SPAC before they announce a deal and, effectively pay a premium on the cash they have in the bank. That probably is over.
Blue Owl going public today. It's up 3%, having a nice run. This is the massive alternative asset manager, SPAC, complex through a merger, having a good first day if you're looking for a SPAC test. Steph, just quickly on Virgin Galactic, are you buying into the enthusiasm around space flight?
I mean, I wish I could. I like it thematically. I think it's great that they're going to get commercial service by 2022, and the fact that they have reservations already, and they charge 250,000, and they have 600 reservations. So it makes a lot of sense, conceptually, but from a stock picker's point of view, it's impossible to value.
Snapchat parent Snap hosting its partners.
这种刚才他说这种像坐飞船这种公司，这和那个生物科技有啥区别？你飞一下成功了暴涨，不成功暴跌。
Has over 500 million monthly active users, previously only revealing daily user numbers. They're landing at 280 million. The company unveiling augmented reality features for developers, including the ability to scan a product and find similar looks to buy, plus tools to try on clothes virtually, and for businesses, new profile pages. For creators, Snap introduced gifting to basically enable people to tip their favorite creators. There are also new pro editing tools and a marketplace to connect creators with brands. And Poshmark, which announced today a Snap shopping experience, saw its shares gain about 9% on that partnership. Guys, back over to you.
Julia, thanks so much for that. Market likes this today, Mike, and hasn't really pulled back that much relative to some of the other 2020 tech outperformers in the first place.
No, it hasn't. You're right. Even compared to something like Pinterest. So it seems like the story is intact in terms of the pie growing fast enough in digital ads, Snap having a small enough share of it. The whole thing that's been the Snap story from the outset, because it hasn't really been about revenue, multiple of revenue today that somehow looks reasonable. So I do think it all makes sense. It seems like Snap has a very defensible piece of this market that nobody's exactly doing the same thing.
The Poshmark piece of it, Steph, is interesting as well. It seems like huge exposure to a really good core group of customers, younger customers. The Poshmark Mini on Snap will let users shop virtual Posh parties, shop Poshmark's entire catalog, and shop top-selling brands. That stock.
这些东西我都不太懂了哈，我可能年纪大了。这现在反正 Snap 就是肯定是也是个 social media 的，这跟 Facebook 那种TikTok 这种东西竞争的这么一个就是这么一个社交的平台啊。他现在和他刚才说那个 Poshmark 这是网上卖衣服那种是吧？你以后能在 Snap 上面给自己拍张照，然后或者录像，然后就能看到自己在这个虚拟世界穿上你这个衣服，戴这个包的样子，戴着眼镜的样子，就这个意思。这些东西可能小孩玩。
Think about Twitter. That's at about 11 times price to sales. And now I know that Twitter had a crummy quarter, but it's not going away, and they have a lot of tailwinds as well. So on a risk-reward basis, I much prefer Twitter at this point, but applaud Snap and all that they're doing.
It's up 213% just over the last 12 months.
他很喜欢 Twitter 相比 Snap 但推特。但是今天中国有一个新闻，中国的那个 ByteDance 那个叫数字跳舞还是什么，就是我忘记中文的名字了，就是TikTok 那个的母公司今日头条的母公司也是那一个，字节跳动 ，sorry， 那个公司他们的 CEO 换了里面的寓意我就不想多揣测了不过我觉得对其他这些 social media 做这种网络交友平台的这种 应该都是好事儿。竞争对手好像遇到了一些挫折。
50-50 split, and now you do have a significant amount more volume in the advancers versus decliners, so that is certainly to the good. And then just to point out this rotation back into kind of the virtual software-based names as opposed to the hard asset ones. You see on a week-to-date basis, the cloud computing ETF up 3.5%. Materials been a great performer for months, backing off by about 2%. So, again, re-rotation after the cyclicals seem to have gotten a little bit tired. And then the volatility index giving up most of that premium that we built up on the little pullback we had, though not all of it. We went from about under 19 up to 26 in a couple of days. And so we have a spike on that chart, but still kind of holding above 20 as the market remains a little bit on guard. Mentioned earlier, a lot of put buying to protect downside, and we do have expiration as well coming up this week, guys.
说咱们现在这个 VIX 还是在保持在一个20以上的一个高点，就是市场稍微平均有一些担心啊。
That is quite noticeably off the session highs. You can see a little bit of a slippage into the close. The Nasdaq is still up at 1.8%, healthy 236 points. Tech, communication services, unsurprisingly, with that setup, the best performing sectors, rounding out 4 sectors above 1%, real estate and healthcare in there too. Only one in the red as we approach the close, energy, but it is those cyclical names that are towards the bottom today. Materials, financials, industrial sector, only slightly higher as we approach the close. Yields, as we mentioned earlier, have slipped a little bit. The 10-year 163. The dollar soft today as well, down 0.4%. And a little bit of a decline in gold and oil prices as well. At the close, we are higher by just over 1% on the S&P 500, just over 0.5% on the Dow, and a healthy 1.8% on the Nasdaq.
今天纳斯达克涨得很不错，1.77%，标普500涨1%。
Stocks breaking a 3-day losing streak. Finishing higher. Welcome back, everyone, to Closing Bell. I'm Sarah Eisen, along with Wilfred Frost and Mike Santoli, CNBC Senior Markets commentator. Take a look at how we finished up the day on Wall Street. The Dow closing up 186 points. Lost a little bit of steam there, as you can see, into the close, but was a higher day overall. Biggest contributor to the Dow gains, Boeing and Microsoft, strong all day long. Biggest laggards, Caterpillar, United Healthcare, and Dow. S&P 500 closing higher by 1%. We were up more like 2% in the final hour of trade, so we really did sell off a little into the close. But most sectors did close higher. Everyone except for energy was up. Technology, the leader. Communication services right up there with it.
科技通信领涨，今天能源是跌的，11个板块只有能源跌。
Positive now on the week, on track to break a 4-week losing streak for the tech-heavy Nasdaq. We still have tomorrow's trading, of course. And the small caps also closing a little bit higher on the day, a little more than 0.6%. Coming up this hour, Tom McClellan says the stock market may soon run higher with its hair on fire. Find out what he thinks will actually happen.
这两天科技太硬了，不知道发生啥啊！今天钱又开始往科技里流。
Ross Stores and UGG maker Decker Outdoors.
今天视频前我不是说那个以色列没说完呢？我说现在这个以色列太狠了，你伤他一个人，他绝对找你麻烦。这就想到之前1970几年那个慕尼黑那个事儿，那个奥运会他们的人他们运动员被杀了10几个，被那个恐怖组织。以色列全球追杀啊，全球追杀，你去哪儿我杀到哪儿，就这么狠。这民族可能就是说，现在还是有这个民族危机感。我前几天看这个对以色列人的一个采访，忘记是采访了谁啊？不过那个人说，我们以色列不能输，任何的战争我们以色列不能输，我们如果输了的话，我们就会被大屠杀，我们以色列就会被大屠杀啊。所以就是说有这个危机感的话，他就不会输。你看一下以色列多拼命，不过他们政府说实话挺给力的。你看他们这些武器啊、装备啊，其实都非常现代化，而且都非常保护他们的军人啊，让人家觉得你当兵不会说那么惨，最起码人家政府保护军人，用最大的能力保护军人，对吧？啊，这个有点像什么？他们有点像这个二战时期的这个日本。二战时期日本当时也是危机感重重，因为他们天天地震，那么天天地震的话。危机感还是大的，对吧？所以也是，还有就是这个武士道精神啊，这乱七八糟的，反正当时日本也是非常非常的凶狠。你要知道，历史上国际历史上，日本是第一个亚洲文明能够打过白人文明的，那就是我忘了哪一年了。不过日本是把俄罗斯战败了，这是第一次亚洲国家能打过 白人闻名的啊，所以也是啊。好吧，不说了，跑题了啊，咱们收盘了啊，看一下今天3个指数，第一个是这个标普500涨了 1.21%， 道琼斯涨了 0.73%， 纳斯达克100涨了 2.06%， 纳斯达克涨了 1.87%啊，这个大盘的纳斯达克这个100涨得很棒很棒。那来看一下11个标普500的板块，那刚才那个节目说这个能源是跌了，其实这边我们看这11个指数全都是绿的，对，能源涨得最差，涨了 0.07%， 这个要小心，有的时候他们说这个板块的时候说的是那些板块的 ETF 啊，是标普的那些 ETF， 但如果你去看指数的话，就是指数他们有的时候是和 ETF 有一些小小的出入的。所以这边这个 Trading View 应该看的是指数啊，所以今天 Energy 能源也算是升绿了啊，绿了，只是涨得很低。然后第二差的是这个 Material 材料，然后是工业，然后是金融，这4个板块没怎么动，很奇怪。现在钱又从这些板块又开始有第二天了，往这个科技方面流啊，不过还要再看。今天涨最好的是这个科技板块，涨 2.03%， 通讯涨了 1.7%， 房地产涨了 1.48%啊，这个医疗保健涨 1.2%， 公共事业涨 0.9%， 可选择消费品 1.02%啊，消费必需品 0.83%。其实我希望什么？我希望看到这些比较防御型的，当然这个不是防御型的，这个可选的消费品不是防御型的。不过这个 healthcare 还有这个公共事业，还有这个 consumer staples 啊，这种消费必需品，我希望这些板块千万不要领涨。如果这些板块开始经常领涨的话，就说明咱们到了这个经济周期的最后一个周期，就说明咱们这个牛市结束了，大家开始要往这个防御型板块跑啊，机构往这里面跑就麻烦了啊。我们不希望看到这些板块特别好，他们就待在中间或者是靠下的位置是最好的啊。那看一下今天标普500的热力图，整个所有的 FANG 都是绿的，微软涨了 1.49%， 苹果 2.13%， 谷歌 1.41%， Amazing 亚马逊 0.38%， 特斯拉今天涨得非常高，涨了 4.32%啊，发现成长股又开始找到一些动力了啊，奈飞涨了 2.74% 啊，然后迪士尼 1.2%啊，不错。然后这个金融方面，银行方面涨得不行，银行全部都在跌这个板块。但我们看到今天半导体也绿油油，英伟达 3.98% 啊，英特尔 1.1%， 然后高通 1.53% 啊。然后这边这个半导体仪器这边也非常棒 ，AMAT 涨了 4.23%， 然后这个 Lam Research 涨 3.95%。看一下标普500的日 K， 相比粉色的恐慌指数，今天恐慌指数有一个明显的下降。你看前天，然后到昨天这个涨幅，相比昨天对今天的这个跌幅啊，发现这个恐慌也是受到了一些冷却啊。同时这个日 K 蜡烛本体也比较长啊，今日价格尝试登到这个20日均线蓝色的这一根上面，但是又被推了下来，好吧？希望看到未来标普500能够重登20日均线，那希望就有一片晴朗的解放区的阳光等着咱们啊。现在标普500的 RSI 是 52.58， 看一下这个纳斯达克100，今天这一根非常的凶狠，涨得非常的牛啊，今天也是科技带队。那这一根已经涨到了这个红色的50日均线以上啊，然后同时主要看它这个恐慌指数这个下跌的非常的多。你看昨天是在这儿，前天在这儿，大前天在这儿，大前天在这儿，但是今天这一个恐慌指数的冷却一下又回到了什么时候？回到了5月7号这个位置，也就是说这个恐慌指数创了这一个星期的新低，这是纳斯达克100看起来大家又开始待见这个科技板块了啊。不过还要再看。现在这些华尔街发声的人，大多数还是不看好科技，觉得还有一波要跌，就是说咱这一波跌的还没到位，可能还要再跌一波比这个深的啊。所以再看吧，反正我纳斯达克100，我当时是卖了吗？卖了一些。但是还有，而且我非常重仓标普500那些东西，里面我已经有很多的这个科技了所以也算是比较这个 diversify， 比较有这个多元化。大家炒股也是要注意，一定要保证多元化。 就是比如说你以前觉得你不看好能源石油，我也不看好能源石油，但是你可以说不去专门去关注这个板块或者加仓这个板块，但你如果去有一个比较大的这种被动指数的话，你里面也会多多少少有一点点参与。就是说实话，标普500现在能源的占比非常的小啊，不过有一点点参与也不坏，因为你永远不知道这个板块流动怎么搞。看一下10年国债收益率，今天又有一个大阴柱，现在是 1.632%看一下这一根能不能进行支撑吧，我觉得可以。再等一下这个经济数据，下一个通胀数据出来的时候这个应该又会造成一些恐慌，因为目前华尔街对这两个这个通胀数据都觉得会很高。那第一个就是咱们刚刚拿到的这个4月份的，然后咱们要再看一下这个5月份的，应该也不低，这个应该还会造成一波震荡。看一下黄金日 K 相比紫色的这个标普500指数昨天这个黄金是登上了我画的这根斜的阻力位，今天还在这个上端。黄金这个东西，其实我觉得这个东西可以参与作为一个对冲。昨天也说过了，就是说先不要重仓，如果要参与先不要重仓，而且这个东西你不能天天看，因为这个东西你看了的话，你看这边就是阴跌对吧？股市如果涨得比较好的话，这种东西就是阴跌。这边从去年8月到现在，整体趋势是一个向下一个向下的趋势，其实拿着也不舒服，所以不应该重仓。而且要注意的是，现在这个标普500怎么了？虽然说现在市场上有很多的不确定性，但是并没有在价格上表现出来。你看一下这个标普500的整个大趋势有变动吗？也没有。所以如果要加入黄金，千万不要，我觉得千万不要重仓，千万不要重仓。除非说你看这种咵掉下来这种，去年这种就是很明显的市场 hold 不住了，手都软了，都拿不住股票了。这种时候就是一个很明显的，就是说可以比较重仓的进黄金的时候。你看这一波下调导致黄金从去年3月涨到什么时候？涨到去年8月，涨了5个月。咱们来看一下这个今天华尔街对个股的评级变化。Piper Sandler 继续认为 Coinbase 是买入级别，那这个就是交易比特币的这个交易平台。然后这个高盛升级了这个 Solar Edge。从中性到买入级别 ，Solar Edge 是生产这个太阳能板块的这种东西。然后 Wedbush，它开始给这个 Coinbase 一个买入级别这个也是就刚才说的那个交易比特币的平台。美国银行升级了 Viacom CBS， 从中性到买入级别，这个是做多媒体的然后瑞银升级了 Chipotle。从中性到买入级别，餐馆、餐厅可选择消费品KeyBank 把英伟达从中性升级到买入级别，那这是半导体对吧？半导体的这个板块的公司。伯克莱银行把 Target 的目标价从225升级到260，那这个就是一个做零售的，这个和沃尔玛呀、Costco 都是一个板块，就是 Consumer Defensive 这种是消费必需品的这个板块。德意志银行认为这个 GM Smucker 这个公司是一个比较好的一个买进的一个想法。不过 GM Smucker 也是一个算是 defensive， 因为它是做食品的consumer defensive， 它是做这些酱这些乱七八糟就是果酱这些东西就是这种就是包装好的这种食品。那这个就是和可口可乐类似的东西也是在消费必需品里面这个 Evercore 继续认为这个Sunrun是一个买入级别，那Sunrun是做太阳能的所以最近发现华尔街又开始老说太阳能的东西然后 Bernstein 升级这个 Analog Device 到买入级别从这个中性，那这个是个半导体公司又是半导体公司瑞银继续声明苹果是买入级别大范世界最大市值的股票苹果。那 Wolf 他把这个Lordstown Motors 降级成卖出级别，这个刚才那个节目里也说了，就是这个又是一个 EV 做电车的一个美国公司这种小市值的这种新公司就很危险。如果刚才没听错，这个东西现在好像9块钱听说这个降级它的这个目标价降成1块钱，这谁受得了所以这种东西就是如果就是赌博你要赌博的话，你说我要赌博手痒痒就买点这种东西好吧而且咱们现在电车也看到了，其实说实话你说特斯拉它的优势是什么？其实这个我也和其他人聊过，那去年的时候我跟别人聊，别人跟我说 你说特斯拉真的估值为什么会这么高？它凭什么这么高？你说丰田的汽车，拿丰田做一个例子，丰田的汽车换一个电池不就成电车了吗？对吧？但我觉得是主要还是说特斯拉的这个自动驾驶科技这个很厉害，而且你看 Cathy Wood 他木头姐为什么能把特斯拉的目标价弄到3000？他就说以后会产生一个自动驾驶网络。如果咱们闭上眼想一下，这个自动驾驶网络会不会出现？我觉得很有可能会，但会不会像他们说的这么快，这是一个问题。不过未来肯定会，就像你20年前你说以后人会不会每人手里拿一个电脑？我指的就是手机，咱们现在手机已经强到比跟电脑一样快了，对吧？那20年前咱们肯定不会知道每个人手里有一个 smartphone， 一个苹果手机或者一个安卓手机，一个可以上网、可以聊天、可以看网页、可以看视频、可以打游戏。那就是什么？这科技就是这样。所以其实说实话，特斯拉现在的竞争对手也猛如虎啊，这个 Porsche 这个就是保时捷也出电车，奥迪也出电车，丰田也会出电车，F150皮卡也要出电车。而且其实特斯拉现在遇到了一些危险啊，就是最起码在这个中国市场有一些风险很大。前几天咱们有看到了2个交警被撞飞了，被特斯拉的车撞飞了。听说一个交警已经死了，另一个交警还在 ICU 重症监护室，应该死不了不过就是又出了大事所以这个我觉得未来肯定还会更加的颠簸，所以这个也是一个风险其实说实话，苹果也有这个风险。你们如果来看苹果的这个财报里面，很大一部分的这个毛收入来自哪？来自中国呀。中国买很多的 iPhone、iPad， 苹果买的这个电脑，乱七八糟。但苹果还是比较聪明的，它还是说最起码算是一个就是说想要去保护它的资本市场，就是还是就是什么意思呢？就是钱 number one， 就别跟我谈政治苹果也是比较遵守就是中国当地的法律吧，最起码对吧？就是政府就说你要这么做，把这个给我，把那个给我，苹果也会给那就是意思就是入乡随俗嘛。其实按道理来讲本来就是这样，你来我这儿做生意，你本来就应该尊重本地法律，所以苹果这方面做的也很好，保护住自己的市场，保护住和当地政府的关系吧。所以我觉得苹果还是不错的风险肯定没有特斯拉大，虽然也是在中国有很大的一个市场苹果还是不错的。好吧，这是北美流氓，希望这一视频对你有所帮助。一会儿别的东西我一会儿再出，好吧？不要忘记点赞、订阅、打开小铃铛，我们一会儿见，拜拜。